Give me a camera to flirt with, an Oscar, I deserve it. The lights, the fame, the press, this game I play it every day.
And hello everyone, it is Peter Sam, the Narrow Gauge Engine here, back again with another video. Thomas and Friends is known for having some great characters throughout its lengthy history, but which character is the best from each season of the show? That is something we'll be answering today, and as usual expect some conventional picks, some non-conventional picks, everything in between. And if you like the video, please consider supporting the channel by pressing the subscribe button down below. 76% of you fuckers watching aren't subscribed, and even if you think you are, be sure to check just in case. Some people always think they're subscribed when they're not, because the YouTube algorithm is at least somewhat good at its job. With all that said, let's jump in with the very first season we ever got to see. Season 1 is a season full of strong characters, and I think the one that we got the best look at is actually Henry. I know some of you may have been expecting Thomas, as it is the season which undeniably has his biggest arc, but for me, Henry stands out in many more ways. He's such a flexible character, and from some random kids show in the 80s, that's really impressive. We get his more arrogant character in The Sad Story of Henry and Trouble in the Shed, a more sympathetic character in Cole and The Flying Kipper, and a rootable character in Edward Gordon and Henry and Whistles and Sneezes. Thomas will get other picks later on, don't you worry, but I felt it was important to take note of this character that would be brushed aside loads later on and had such a strong start, which is why he's my pick for the best of this season. Season 2 is obvious, isn't it? It's of course Gordon the Big Engine. I mean, this guy went against a cow and lived to tell the tale. That's impressive. Okay, I'm joking. It's Edward, of course. Not only do we have the standout episodes with Old Iron and Edward's exploit both displaying his determination in the face of adversity and arrogant douches, but there's other episodes that do some level of justice in Save from Scrap, in which we see his caring nature, and Cows, in which we get the Big Engines mocking him only for them to get humiliated themselves. This is clearly Edward's season, and I don't think that was ever really in question. There's only one engine I think of when I think of Season 3, and it's the Great Western Engine himself, Duck. A lot of the season takes place on his line, so we get a lot of episodes including him ranging from okay to strong. Donald's Duck is a decent one, Diesel Does It Again is good too, and All at Sea is beautiful, not to mention his more minor roles in episodes like Gordon and the Famous Visitor, and Bulgy. With a season this strong and with appearances this plentiful, it was easy to see why he was my pick as the best of the best for this season. Yeah, I'm picking Peter Sam for Season 4, and what? Bro lost his father figure, found him again, got tricked by him, got yelled at by a refreshment lady, got his funnel badly damaged after a case of mistaken identity, got his funnel not clean off later, had it replaced, and then became the ultimate badass from there on out, and that is far away the most development a Scarlowy Railway engine has had ever. Never mind just in this season alone, the next best thing is Duncan and his learning not to be so prejudiced against diesels, but let's be fair here, that goes out the window fairly quickly in the next few seasons, and considering how the standard gauge stuff in this season is really just orgy stories that the TV series crew didn't cover before, this feels like the right pick and definitely isn't just me bigging up my mascot, although it is a little bit. My pick for Season 5 was tricky because a lot of characters get touched on here, but in the end I chose Percy the Small Engine as he has a pretty big impact in this one. He has lead roles in Put Upon Percy, Happy Ever After, Bar, Cranky Bugs, and A Surprise for Percy, and minor roles scattered in other episodes like Make Someone Happy, Gordon and the Gremlin, and Sir Topham Hatt's Holiday. He is everywhere in this season, and despite him sometimes coming off as more basic than his previous appearances, on the whole his character is still incredibly strong throughout, and his prominence in a season as strong as this only serves to bolster his status, making him the best character from this particular season in my opinion. Now, there's one part of Season 6 that is a standout for me, as it's very different, very fun, and a glimpse into an alternate universe in a way. My pick is Jack the Front Loader. Now yes, he only appears in 2 episodes, but they're 2 very strong episodes, and we know how up and down this season can be. Plus I think it's kind of unfair to pick Percy 2 times in a row. Both Jack Jumps In and A Friend in Need do well to present a different and interesting arc for us, with the lesson being taught being that you don't push in or you don't belong. I can't remember another time I've really had that moral presented to me, and definitely makes watching all the more fun. That, along with the massive cast size this season, really does make Jack the best of this season in my opinion. We've reached the end of the classic era now with Season 7, and I feel like Emily deserves the crown this time, as she is really likeable throughout her mainly smaller appearances this season. She's often the voice of reason in episodes like Salty's Stormy Tale, and if not, usually rather mellow in character, and that's quite refreshing to see in comparison to her personality next season. If she's in an episode, it's a banger for me. Emily's new coaches, Salty's Stormy Tale as we mentioned just now. What's the Matter with Henry isn't awful by any means, Ballsy Rides Again is a certified classic, all the boxes are ticked, all the lights are green, and so finally for once I can praise this character for something aside from being the main cause of why I get migraines. Well done, Emily, we're all proud. We're on to the hit era now, and Season 8 provides the building blocks to absolutely decimate some of the characters we've come to know and love. However, some characters are still given at least decent treatment by the writers, with one being James the Red Engine. With 2 standout episodes this season, both of which do well to retain his previous character, and one of them even gives him some level of growth, which was great to see, James clearly is the standout here for me. Especially because in earlier seasons he was an all-around weaker and less likeable character, and in future seasons he becomes a massive dickhead that's even more amplified than he was before. This version of James, who still has his problems but overall still feels like a morally good dude, is what I like best, and I think James gets a new coat and James goes too far give that to us rather well. I mean, that's not to say he doesn't have his douchey moments this season. Spick and Span is a notable example of James being an egotistical twat, as is Thomas and the firework display, but in both of those episodes he still gets comeuppance to balance out his poor behaviour, so really I still think this pick works. As much as I don't want to do this, Season 9's pick just has to be Thomas. I'm sorry, I know he has some bad episodes in there, but surprisingly it's the fact that he is so prominent in this season that makes him so strong despite this being such an inconsistent era of the show. He does have some really likeable episodes this season though, such as Thomas Tries His Best and Thomas and the Golden Eagle, but believe it or not, it's more his secondary roles that bolster him up for my pick. The secondary role in the hit era is often reserved for the character who is in the right, being correct on a stance that the primary character is opposed to. This isn't every episode, but a fair few are like this in Thomas, and I think every secondary role that he has in this season acts fairly and responsibly and like a normal engine, really. Standouts include Mighty Mac, Tuneful Toots, and Henry and the Flagpole. All of these demonstrate a reasonable Thomas who isn't a big child, and that is why he's my pick for the best character of this season. Season 10 is a season that hasn't got absolutely phenomenal episodes, but the characters are what make it better and makes choosing trickier for me. In the end though, I chose Gordon as my pick here, as It's Good to Be Gordon is widely regarded as one of the best hit era episodes, and well, that's sort of it really. If you want more clarification on why exactly that is, my top 10 hit era episodes video is available for you to watch on the channel, because yeah, I don't think any character really was as likeable as Gordon this season, with Thomas and Percy having less episodes and the same number of bad character moments, and with James just missing out on claiming the spot, because I genuinely just prefer It's Good to Be Gordon, and that is why Gordon is my pick for the best of Season 10. Now, despite all of the low points of Season 11, there is a bevy of good new characters introduced here, and it's one of these characters that I ended up choosing. Madge has 2 incredibly strong episodes this season, with Cool Truckings being an entertaining episode with good dynamics, set designs, and Madge actually learns the lesson of the episode without intervention from Mr. Percival, which is few and far between in this era. Wash Behind Your Buffers is also strong too, with another good moral and some interesting use of mud, but definitely not unwelcome by me. Madge's character in general definitely brings back that parental figure that the Scarlowy cast definitely needed, as the previous ones either disappeared or became children themselves, and to be honest, Sir Handel doesn't do a good job with it at all. So it's nice that we got that with an awesome vehicle character with fun little quirks. She feels so fitting, and that's why I picked her. My pick for Season 12 is probably an odd choice, but definitely one that I'm going to stick by, and that's Hector. Every protagonist in this season, who is usually Thomas to be fair, is unlikable or messes up the same thing over and over, but not only is Hector none of those things, he's clearly grown since his introductory episode, becoming the knowledgeable voice of reason. In his only episode of the season, James works it out. Yes, the best character of the season merely has a secondary role in one singular episode of 20, and he is the peak. Insane! Anyway, let's move on to the Brenner era now and see what's in store for us over there. Season 17 has a lot of episodes with a lot of characters, some good and some bad, so much so that I went with the safe choice again and picked Gordon. Having standout episodes, once again those being Gordon Runs Dry and The Frozen Turntable, that do capture Gordon's personality well. I wouldn't say they're in the same league as It's Good to Be Gordon before it, but it definitely feels like a more entertaining Gordon than we had before, and I quite like this. His melodramatics have been amped up and gives the guy some more flair in my opinion. I mean, he was one of the best parts of Calm Down Caitlin, and I hate that episode, so that has to be worth something. Surprisingly, I haven't really touched on this character before, so for Season 18's pick, I will. Toad the Brake Van is a consistently great character in every season he appears in, but he's my pick for this season simply because in my opinion most of the characters here are either too unlikable or too bland to be chosen. That's not to say that Toad is the best of a bad bunch. Thomas and Percy are still fun, as are Connor, Duncan and Marion, but Toad stands out because he does just feel so much like his classic era personality with some added development. I don't know if Toad would have been as firm with Gator if this was season 5, and I'm not sure he could have stopped the train on Gordon's Hill either. For me, there's clear character progression, and yes, it does seem a bit out of nowhere, but it's enough for me to call him the strongest of the characters we see in this season. I hate to do this, but I just feel like there's no other real answer for this next pick. Season 19 too has such a wide cast, and the one constant throughout most of it is the main man himself, Thomas the Tank Engine. I don't want to pick him because, let's be fair, a lot of his appearances aren't very impactful this season. Who's Jeffrey and Diesel's Ghostly Christmas Parts 1 and 2 are his standouts for me, with minor roles crammed in wherever necessary. And by that I mean literally every episode. This is in comparison to Season 18's 21 main roles and Season 20's 24, which is mental because that season has more episodes. And again, with the cast size being larger this time round, I feel like I can't not pick him, because at least he's consistently written and he's consistently present. Now, with Season 20 itself, having just mentioned it, there are quite a few contenders here in my opinion. Skiff is a charming little fellow with 2 great episodes, one of which is more thrilling and the other more comical. Henry gets some brilliant moments throughout too, in Henry Gets the Express and Henry in the Dark. The Arsdale trio are all brilliant in their own ways, but the engine I ended up going with in the end, with this being the first Diesel character of the list, is Daisy. She's voiced by Tracy Ann Oberman, throwing that fact in there now so I don't have to mention it in detail again, but that's already a huge positive for me. But outside of that, she has a huge grip on the season. The rail car and the coaches is an obvious standout, but there's also Ryan and Daisy and her minor role in the missing breakdown train there too. The way she does it isn't really my favourite, it sort of gets lost in the shuffle for me, but the other episodes do so well here, and I'm sure I'm missing other episodes she contributes in too. Daisy herself is a great character, and to see her be brought to life in a very refreshing way in this newer age of Thomas is so fun. So fun that I had to highlight her on the list as the best of this glorious season. Here we are again, Season 21, the end has come once more, but which engine have I chosen? Well, let's be fair, I think we both have some idea of the character who I think have made the best out of him in this 18 episode stretch. Whilst Cranky and James are some clear good contenders, I'm sorry, but nothing is going to beat the insane character growth seen from Diesel in this season for me. I've banged on about Springtime for Diesel enough, so I'll keep it brief and say ours is the best scene in the entire Brenner era in my opinion. The big freeze and a most singular engine both seem to undo this character growth, but even then this is still prime Diesel we have on our hands here, entertaining, amazingly voiced, scheming, and to be fair, Diesel's not the only character burdened with this, as how many times have we seen Thomas, Gordon, Percy or James revert to type? And how many times have we seen worse from Edward, Henry or Toby? So whilst it's still a blunder when examining the wider picture, it's only more noticeable and more of a con because it's in such a shorter space of time. Whereas we've had seasons upon seasons worth of rehashing already these completed character arcs in a more stretched out way with the Steam team. Diesel has some great highlights in the season, more so than most other characters, and his level of growth in one episode tips him over the edge and makes him the best of this season. Well done Diesel, well done indeed. So those were my personal picks for the best of the best when it comes to the characters in each season of Thomas and Friends, you know, the characters that actually matter. What are your picks and do you agree with mine? Sound off down below, be sure to vote in the next community poll that give you your say on what content you want to see from me next. And until next time, I've been Peter Sam, you've been you, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around how Thomas got every role in every single season 19 episode, and I got 0. I knew there was a reason I didn't like Brenner, fucking bastard.